it's Shoal here, and today we were going to talk about urban design workflows using the AEC Collection. And right, so let's get going. All right, so the idea behind this webinar is to just show you some options that you do have with the AEC Collection in particular, and some future tools that could help you create urban planning for larger scaled projects. Right, there are obviously other tools as well. These aren't the only ones, but one that I can think of is something like InfraWorks that could also be used for urban planning. Right, each of these obviously have different benefits and use cases, so it's just giving you an overview of the options and the choices. Right, so we're going to look at Formit, Revit and Dynamo, and then also Spacemaker as a future tool. Right, so as I mentioned, we will chat about the information on the AEC Collection, what software you do have, and how it could be used to create urban designs. All right, so firstly, looking at the options, the first one that comes to mind is Formit, and Formit allows you to create or search for a terrain, the address, and then you would be able to look at the terrain and be able to then add forms, very basic forms on the terrain, kind of obviously to plan ahead, and then later on you can also do some analysis on those forms, meaning sun, shadows, and also solar, for your solar panels, etc. Right, so there is that ability, and then there's also ability to check areas for your forms, and to kind of see if you are in budget based on the kind of the floor area of your forms. You can also later on take that as a block model over to Revit, and kind of use it as reference in Revit. All right, so let's open Formit and just have a look at that just briefly, and then we carry on with some of the other tools. Right, so I'm just going to open Formit. It's basically Formit allows you to it's kind of like a push and pull kind of design tool prior to getting to Revit, and typically it's for smaller use, but you can also use it for a kind of a urban design, as we mentioned. Right, so first up, there's also you can install it on your PC. You also have a iPad version, and you also have a web version, so it's kind of available as part of the AEC Collection with those within those kind of platforms. Right, so first up, I'm going to just look at the the terrain, or look at an area, and I'm just going to go and say Shirley Street, Port Elizabeth, just a random address. Right, so there's an area over here which I will just then kind of import. So there's obviously, you can set this in a different kind of you can add labels or whatever, but I'll import the terrain, or I could just set the location, and that will just make your sun angles, etc. good. But in this case, I'll import the area. Right, so obviously zoom in, zoom out, you get the various buildings around. So I'm just going to focus on that area there, and I'll say finish importing for now. And what it does, it will then bring in that information, and currently, as you can see, it's pretty flat, so there's no kind of terrain. You do have the ability to have a slope added on the right hand side. Here you've got your layers, and you can actually make that visible. So now there's a slight slope on the left. It's higher than on the right. Okay, so you do have the ability to add the terrain. Obviously, you can turn off the satellite image as well. That will okay, well, it doesn't do anything, but certainly the terrain allows you to create the volumetric. Right, so once you've got that, you can then go and perhaps add forms. Maybe this is the area that we need to develop. So you obviously can sketch the forms out. If you like to just sketch the base, I'll just use a rectangular form, and I'll say from there to there to there. And once you've got that rectangular form, you can go and select it, and then kind of pick that and pull it up if you like. So that kind of ground area you can, or floor plan, you can sketch out, and then take it from there. You could also place forms already. So I'll just kind of place a little form there, and then that particular form, I can pick its edge and then pull that edge longer, etc. I see the units I haven't set, so maybe I'll set the units to get physical forms, and that's just basically under settings, and you can set the units to metric perhaps. Right, let's use meters. Right, so now if I kind of select this over here, that form there, I can I can elevate it 8 meters. Right, so basically you can move your forms. You can make them you can do your urban planning like so. Right, okay, so what I want to now just look at is just looking at a little bit of a sun or shadows. So I'll enable shadows. This is now obviously based on the location, etc. And you can then add your date and time over here. And maybe in the morning that one gets a little bit of area there, or shadows, and then maybe so that's nice. All right, so okay, so you've got some shadow ability to look at those. You also do have some solar analysis here at the bottom. What that will do, it will just kind of generate it looks at the weather station and kind of generates the solar the amount of sun that's on these particular surfaces. Right, so let's use June. There's different options, and I'll just say let's go. All right, so here at the bottom, obviously I think I just selected that element, but there's the wattage per square meter that I could have. Obviously these are on the one side, and so in June it's not as much. Perhaps let's look at December, and there we go. There's a lot of sun on that roof, which I can add solar panels to. Right, okay, so you get the idea. You can do a little planning on this sort of scenario, and I'll just kind of reset that. Say okay. You can add text, and you can add a lot of other things. You could also add levels. I'm not going to go through that, but you could add various levels. These are heights, so maybe I've got maybe 3 heights there, level 1, 2, 3, and what you then do, let me just do it anyway. You would select your objects, and you would apply the levels to those objects. Let me just go to the properties of those selected elements, and then say use levels. And as you enable those levels that you've just defined, they will section or slice through those geometries, and then produce square meterages for you. Now, so it's fairly easy to just generate that. Obviously, if you change the shapes of the components, it will update, etc., etc., etc. All right, and this, when you import this into Revit, you can kind of do the same with these sort of informations. All right, so let me leave it at that. So very nice kind of quick presentation, planning your urban environment. All right, obviously this you can you can share with other people and collaborate. If there's other stakeholders, they can view the same information in the cloud and work with that. You can also, just as a footnote, we're going to talk about Dynamo later on. You can also add Dynamo scripts within Formit, but we'll chat about that later. Right, so that's basically just kind of a brief overview of what Formit's all about. Right, so let's return to the slideshow. All right, so that's basically the Formit. You have the ability to kind of create your terrain, add block forms, and then do some analysis and transfer over to Revit. Now there's lots of other things you might also be able to do here, but at this stage that's just the basics. All right, and then looking at Revit. Revit has got awesome massing tools that can represent your buildings, and you also then in kind of a the Revit kind of documentation system. You don't have to transfer in and out, and you can also do sun studies, shadows, and lots of other things. All right, so there's just a little image of some block components. Right, so with the terrain in that, it's slightly different. Here you need to import either points or kind of produce the terrain, and then from within that terrain you can create your components. All right, so let's just go to Revit. There we go. All right, so it's pretty just Revit 2023, and I'll just say new. I'll just create a fresh new drawing based on a template, just a UK template, and obviously here you can insert points, create your terrain. The idea is not to create the terrain and go through that, but let me just very simply go to Topos surface. Let me just go to the site view first, and then go to Topos surface, and then I'm going to pick up 2 points here on the left, and maybe a couple of other points 5 meters higher on the right hand side. Right, so there we go. There's my terrain. There are obviously a number of ways to create your terrain by placing points, importing AutoCAD files that represent the contours, and then using that to as a Revit model, and then also you can import points file. Let me just see if it no, right, so okay, so you can import those points files, etc. Right, so I'll just finish that, looking at the terrain. There we go. And with this I'll just kind of you obviously also have levels, so these levels are very similar to the previous scenario where we have the on Formit we had those levels that we can define. These levels are obviously starting at 0, so I might need to relocate the project. At this point I'll just kind of move the the site down. Right, so I will then I notice the contours are not there, so I'll just change that contour setting here to kind of minus 100 meters. Okay, for now. All right. Okay. So now I'll go and say, right, under massing, I'll be able to place in place masses or create my own. All right. So if I go in place mass, I'll give it a name, and then you can sketch it out however you want to sketch out your your little mass. All right, there we go. And I'll say create form. Just to give it a little bit better look, you can select your form, and then again you can push and pull at these sides to create various ways to produce your model, item. You can select edges, you can select faces, very similar to the previous scenario, and then you finish your mass. Right, then going back to that little mass, you can also place a mass, and obviously there's none loaded, so I'll just go to massing, and then go load maybe some form, maybe kind of a cylinder or whatever. All right, so once you've loaded in that form, you obviously can place it. Let me just go back to ground, and I'll say place on work plane, and there we go. I'll just place it over there, maybe stretch it a little bit smaller, and later on maybe stretch it a little bit higher. All right, you get the idea. Obviously this has got certain heights, offset from the level, etc, etc. All right, so these mass items also pass through these levels. So if you've got multiple levels, you will also be able to generate the let me just go to levels, add another level over there. Right, obviously I can pass through all of it, but I'll just keep it simple here. Let's make it 8 meters. All right, so I've got 4 meters and 8 meters, and obviously 0 as well. Maybe this item moves up, and that item moves down, or whatever, to generate those floors. Okay, so obviously maybe let's just keep it like normal. Let's leave it at that. All right, okay, so if this one passes through that, then it will at some point not calculate those levels. Right, so to do those calculations, the square meterages, you can go to view. Before I go there though, you do have a ability to use Formit to sketch these forms as well. So if you go, I think place mass, I'm not going to place mass, but I'll just go back there. In place mass, or you can select one of these and say edit, and then go back to where is that now? Modify, no, cancel. Massing, modify. Yeah, all right. It didn't. Okay, so if I go show place in place mass 2. Oh, it doesn't allow me now to do that. I don't know why that. Okay, earlier that there's a little sketch, little goodie that allows you to edit the models in Formit. Your sketching. All right. Okay, so I'll go to view to get those areas. I'll go to schedule, and in here you go to massing, and within the massing you have the ability to just go and say, right, let's look at the the family and type, and these floor areas, surface areas even, and so on. Right, how many are there, etc. And what it then produces is the floor areas of that whole building. Perhaps, as I mentioned, you want the levels, so let's see if we can add those levels in here. Right, no, okay, so that's just the floor areas. If you want the levels, you need to just produce those sections. So you need to go to the items itself, and then say mass floors, and then enable those floors as sections through this particular item. All right, okay, so that works. Right, then the schedule update. There's a floor area. Right, so that's mass 1 floor area. So there's the floor area. Obviously those floor areas are similar, so okay, let me just go in there, fields. Right. I think once I've done that, there's another table. This is just the mass schedule, but if I now go to view schedules under massing, you can have the mass floors in here somewhere. Right. Okay, but yeah, obviously there's a maybe I've missed a little object here now. There's a gross volume here that we did. Yeah, all right. A little floor schedule. If I go to view, excuse me. Massing type, levels, areas. No, okay. Right. Obviously, if there's nothing there, you can actually add those components by saying go to floors. If you want them individually, floor by face, and then just pick these items individually, and you create those floors. Then you've got 3 floors, and they will then appear in this area as individual items. Alright, so that's another route that you can take once you've created the particular massing. Obviously these massings, if they do adjust, you can select the object itself, update, and obviously then all the floors and schedules and everything will adjust as well. Alright, so that's a little bit of planning, etc. Obviously here you also have the ability to go to walls by face and kind of add walls to these, so you can very quickly go and produce buildings, even roof by face, add that, and maybe at the top here. So very quickly you've got floors, doors, and walls, and the particular items. And then later on you can then go and switch off the massing, so you only have the kind of the buildings. If you've developed the urban design already and you kind of want to move over to particular details. Alright, but prior to that, obviously you do also have the ability to look at sun angles. You can set up your north-south scenarios. So you've got lots of different tools. If you go to manage, always manage, you've got your location that you can set, so you can pick where you are in the world. We can select the same address there as before. Maybe that's already here. There we go. And so that allows you to, for sun studies, be more accurate. I'll just say okay. And then also you have to set up your north scenario. So you need to know where north is, and then rotate the project based on true north, and that allows you to kind of create your sun studies better. Right, so if you go to there's a sun path as well that you can enable, that just is more visual, and then you can obviously pick the sun items and then pull where it, or the sun little item, and you pull it to where you are. Alright, so obviously the shadows are off, but as soon as you pull this, you can have a look at the shadows and present it that way. You can also do sun studies. These are just simple, positional, but you can also have single day and multi-day. Let's just do a single day from sunrise to sunset, 15 minutes apart, just at that date and time. I'll say apply, and that's now obviously in the morning. So I'll kind of preview my solar study and then play it, and you'll notice that I've got a little animation showing from sunset to sunrise what's happening over there. Maybe I'll just change this to hidden lines to show the shadows better. There we go. Alright, something like that. Yeah, so you can change your views as well. Obviously you need to just set up north prior to all of this. Okay, so I think that that is enough for now. with regards to the Revit, and looking at developing your site. And right now, obviously, you can do a lot of other information here, change the site, etc. Okay. Okay, so let's return to the slideshow. So with Revit, obviously different presentations, different visual styles, white, black and white, or colors, or whatever. You can also do that. Right. Again, footnote, with Revit, you can also add a Dynamo and the Dynamo scripting that allows you to add intelligence to things. Right. And that's the next idea. With Dynamo and generative design, basically allows you to set up constraints or certain factors that you want, or that you want to achieve, meaning maybe I want to have 90% northern sun on most buildings on that urban area, and then you would then program that within Dynamo and generative design, and then allow you to optimize your buildings on that site to conform to that factor. Now, obviously, if there might be one factor that you want to reach, and there might be multiple factors. If you look at the middle image there on the screen, there's now multiple factors, and each one might be, or one might be more important than the other, meaning one is called views, where you can see all these little buildings need to kind of it's a requirement maybe to see outside. The other one is solar gain. The other one is profit, meaning the more units you have on the site, the better. Obviously, to make this urban development viable. So there's lots of factors involved that you need to think of, and you can have the software think of those factors and then produce alternatives for you with regards to generative design. And those alternatives you can see on the right hand side there, and then you can pick one off the list and say this is the one you want, and it then will change the forms according to your factors that you've decided. Now, obviously, this idea is or this it's urban design part, but it's programming. So, and it clips onto either Formit or Revit, and you can use that to further develop these sort of factors and urban planning, and allow you to really get the full benefit of the site, profit, solar gain, or whatever views that you want to generate, and or a combination thereof. All right. So obviously this is a skill that you need to learn. So you need to first learn Dynamo to know what how this is set up. But Dynamo is then used in generative design. There's also, or could be used, there's also generative design now on its own that you can program and produce various plans, etc. All right. So so this helps to enhance your designs further, as to produce various supplied factors to reach those. All right. Okay. Then looking on to Spacemaker. This is now a tool that Autodesk bought recently, and it's not available yet in a couple of countries. They obviously, including South Africa, they're still busy, sorting out the dotting the I's and crossing the T's and everything. So there is trials available though, so you can go and look at a trial and then play around with that trial. So the idea with this is specific. This is specifically designed for urban design, and different proposals with regards to that. It's got much more analysis, like noise and sun, obviously, the shadows, views, all the number of units on the site, etc. And it's very visually pleasing. So you kind of pull sliders, etc., and it shows you the level of noise within those buildings. Right. So let me just take you to Spacemaker. Right. So it's a web-based idea, and so you don't how do we say, download anything. You just go to the website, and all the calculations, etc., happens in the cloud. So basically, I've just set up a demo project, and what's nice about this whole thing is there's lots of tuition or training that goes into it. So as you join the demo, they give you videos to watch, etc. So I'll just kind of go to this project that I started. It's just a examples project, so it's not my project. But on the left, you have your proposals, and various proposals allow you to have variation. And at the bottom here, you've got the various views. Let me just go to a different proposal here. Let me just zoom in. Let's just use that one now rather. Right. The sun is now on here. Right. So let me just go to the 3D view. All right. So there we go. So it's just a site in London. So obviously you can you in the bottom here, the base situation, you can edit, and then you type in an address, and okay, well, there's something wrong. All right, but you can you can create your base location and type in a address, and then it allows you to see the site. Within the site, there's buildings. These buildings are based on a certain setup. You've got a tool that you can manually create these, but you can also kind of automate the various items, and then you've got little sliders that you can pull and push to create various options within these arrangements. It can be a tower building, it can be volumes, etc. So it allows you to look at all of these. Right, so if I just use this for now, maybe not as high, etc. Right, so maybe the length gets increased. All right, so I've got something like that, and then obviously square meterages update as you change these sort of concepts, and each of these units you can actually delve into. I'll do that just now, and then you can see you've got a core where you have vertical travel or circulation, and then obviously your units beside these. They're not as detailed as they're not very detailed, but they kind of have square meters. So say for instance 75 square meters for your 3-unit building, or flat, and then maybe 100 square meters for something else, so they are just kind of separated in that, but we'll talk about that just now. All right, so I'll just go to the sun, and as I click on the little sun tool, you see at the bottom you've got various slides, or how many hours these objects will have sun, and obviously that you can change those per. Now obviously that's in northern hemisphere, so in December you might have less less sun, so the slide is the hours are less there. Right, so I'll just keep it on June there, There's obviously all the time of the day as well, etc. Right, then there's also noise. So as you click on noise, basically it'll produce, obviously there's roads beside these. These you can also define, and you'll notice there's lots of noise within the outskirts of this site, and then less noise elsewhere. Now if you do change the buildings, maybe you change the buildings like so, and you go back to noise, maybe that insides are is better. It's all green, so it's basically a better scenario with regards to you know, the noise. Right, and so you go on these like wind as well. So prevailing winds takes in consideration, so it allows you to see if there is uncomfortable winds, etc. Maybe the you know, the angle of these buildings need to adjust, and then as you do that, it kind of recalculates, and all the wind is you know, in the green kind of scenario. All right, so very quickly, very easily, you can do other analysis. There's some constraints. You can even, you know, manually draw roads within subdividing the you know, the site. But at this stage, I'll just keep it like that. There's a design. If we scroll down, I think at the top here, let me just, I wonder if I can turn off the auto buildings. I can't remember, but you can also add, you know, add line buildings, like so, and then there's other type of buildings that you can add, different parking zones, etc. So you know, so maybe add parking zone there. Just go back to the start. Okay, so there's some parking, and obviously I can have analyze that as well, etc., etc. Okay, so there's lots of little things that you can add here, and yeah, right, and then obviously analyze the different items. Right, right. So if I go and analyze, let me just show here. I just want to see what this is all about. I think that's where we were. That was right. So here, if I go to analyze, yeah, I can. Yeah, I think add the roads and things. I can't remember where that is now. All right. So these are probably the little lines that I added. Right, go back to design. Right, so basically I think that's enough for now. It just gives you a very quick idea of, you know, what Spacemaker is all about, and how quickly you can kind of produce kind of little buildings. Oh, one thing that I wanted to just talk about is if you kind of pick on these items. Let me just use mine there. If I pick on that item, you can actually select it, and then that's a residential or unspecified. Let's do residential, and there was a, can't remember now. Select the building. If I do convert to color, polygon building. I think it's edit. I don't know. Okay. Anyway, I think, but you can also view these. I'm not too sure now where to view the particular unit. But pretty sure you could have selected holding control or something. Can't remember now. Right, but you can pick these particular units and then edit them or see how they basically are situated or developed. Not now, but you can delve into these particular individual items. All right. Okay, so that allows you to very quickly add buildings and parking and do a lot of analysis with regards to each of these. Now you can have different proposals as well, so that you can see which one is the optimal, or discuss that with the client, etc. Alright, so with all these tools, it allows you to very quickly present and create urban designs using AEC Collection. Obviously the Spacemaker isn't included in that. It's not kind of available. It's basically a future tool, but it's available in a couple of countries, but not in all. So that it could be a good win for urban design when it comes available. Right, so thank you guys for listening and attending. If you've got any questions, let me know. My details are at the bottom there, or just go to our website and then maybe just send an email or a request, and then we can go through more of this with you. Right, so thank you for listening, and we'll see you on the next webinar. Bye bye.